watch the meeting. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our SACRE meeting. This is our second meeting of the year. My name is Councillor Harbhajan Kaur Deer, and I'm the chair of this committee. I have a couple of points to make before we start our meeting. Julia Diamond Conway for the RE today will be addressing the committee. Secondly, expecting 2 teachers from Ealing. I believe one is Joshua, I don't have his surname, and Fiona Greening has already here. Fiona Greening, they are here to observe our meeting. Thirdly, members, please write your views, comments in the chat box if you have any views during our meeting or comments. Fourth, if need arises to take a vote, then I would like votes to be counted on all 4 groups, not only councillors, on 4 groups. Markesha. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, let's start with the agenda item 1, apologies. I have received lateness from Councillor Tariq Mahmood. Councillor Ball has substituted by Councillor Jonathan Oxley. Councillor Hodan, she's got another commitment, won't be able to make it. Paula Booker. Paula Booker is here. Welcome, Paula. It's a new member to our SACRE. And Sue McCone. So I don't remember seeing her before. Probably she's a member of our committee. Apologies from her. I think I have these apologies for this meeting. Next is urgent matters. There are none. Declaration of interest, none to my knowledge. Matters to be considered in private, none that I know of. Number 5 is minutes of the last meeting held on 8th of October 2024. Members, any matters arising from these minutes? Any concerns? Any clarifications? Any
no,
comments?
Chair, agreed.
Agreed,
No.
Chair, that's fine.
That's
Agreed,
fine. Shall I take as accurate and agreed?
Agreed.
Indeed, Chair, agreed.
Agreed, Chair.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, members. Now it's item 6. Item 6 is a 2024-25 SACRE work plan. Work plan, I would ask Sinead Galbraith to put some highlight on our action plan. Sinead.
Just getting it up.
Yeah.
Are there any comments on it thus far?
Not I know.
No questions that have come through on it.
No.
Right, let me just get it to hand. Sorry.
That's okay. Take it easy.
So the so we are basically where we should be in terms of what we've set out in terms of the curriculum review. We have a small working party. In fact, we're probably a little bit ahead, aren't we, Jan, in terms of collating that the information that was gathered for the curriculum review that we were asked to be a part of has also contributed and given us a bit of a head start around that. and as we're just sort of waiting for what I would say would be the end of the financial year in order to start on our next big piece of work around the gathering the responses and looking at our representatives from different curriculum agencies putting forward to our teachers. So that's taken up kind of the main part of it.
Sinead, it's a item number 6 in the agenda item, work plan.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's correct.
So yeah, the goals we have set up for this year and the next year up to, I think, a next meeting.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So we're all on track.
On track. Yeah. Thank you very much. Members, have you seen the work plan? Is there any issues, any concerns, any views?
It looks very good to me, Chair.
Right. Thank you very much. Thank you. Let's move on to agenda item 7, which is a determination, application for school determination, LMB Primary School. Have we got anyone? Is it Sinead, you, or any member from school to present this?
I think, do we have David here to present from Allenby?
Right.
David is the head teacher at Allenby.
Hi, yeah.
David Hickman, yeah.
That's correct, yes. Sorry,
David, yes.
I'm so sorry, I wasn't aware that I was presenting. I don't have any I don't have anything in front of.
Oh, right.
So, Chair,
I think we've.
Sorry,
Sue, you step in.
Yeah,
so you have you have visited the school. I've seen. I read your report.
Yes, so I'm happy to just summarise my visit for everybody, just in case they haven't had time to read my report. So yes, I had the pleasure of visiting Allenby Primary School, which, as you can see from the details, is in Southall, and they serve a very diverse community. Approximately half the school are Muslim, and then significant Sikh and Hindu population as well. I sat in on an act of collective worship and an assembly which was led by the pupils on Judaism, which was excellent. And at the beginning of that assembly, David, who's with us on the call, explained really clearly to the children why it was they were learning about Judaism, even though it wasn't a major religion in their school. They were talking about the importance of understanding one another, and there was a real culture of sort of respect and tolerance for other faiths within the school. There were parents at the assembly too. They come to see the children lead, and there was an act of collective worship and reflection that took place at the end of the assembly. And Allenby as a whole has a well-planned schedule of collective worship. The school focuses, they use the United Nations Rights of the Child as the focus for both their school ethos and for their assemblies and collective worship. And that is very clear, and the children are very familiar with that, and it provides a really strong framework for planning their collective worship and assembly sessions. It was a pleasure to be there. I felt that the school is absolutely appropriate for them to have a determination, and they clearly have really strong routines and plans in place to support that spiritual aspect of their school.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I've also read this report thoroughly. Also, your report is excellent, really, the way you have written. I like the mindfulness. Children, the lessons and the assemblies. The children can make to think, to calm themselves down and to reflect back. I liked it, really liked it. And they have recommended a couple of books, I think. One of is Syed, Mike, I have forgotten his first name. He also writes in the Times. Yeah, I think it's excellent, really. It's very good report written, and children are thriving. Very good. Thank you. Members, any views, any Any concerns? Any comments?
Well, only to say the same, Chair, that the same as you. I think it's fantastic that they had that breadth of presentation and understanding. I mean, these are very strong religious communities, and they're being given plurality. And this is fantastic news.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else?
Yes, Chair, I echo what the people are saying and very thankful for that report and agreed on that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Is there anything on the chat column?
Yes.
I'd say a big thank you to everyone for the feedback and the kind words there.
Right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
I had
So,
one question. I had just one question, just to understand, because I'm new to this and I was substituted relatively recently, just to understand what decision are we being asked to make, or are we just being asked to comment? What is the actual?
Actually, is about the report. If we have read the report, if you have any concerns, a report contains the all about the determination why they are teaching the RE, religious education, and the collective worship, because it's a multi-faith schools.
Yeah.
So probably you don't know about these issues. Yeah. So we have to approve whether we can approve this determination for school or not.
And the determination is a determination that they are offering a plurality of religious studies within the school.
Yeah, that is it's not a law, but under the local authority, local law. Yes,
Right.
R is essential. Yeah.
Okay. Well, based on
Am
that,
I right,
I'm satisfied.
Yeah. Thank you.
Can I come in on that? Yeah, if I can come in on that, Chair. So it is a statutory responsibility for all schools within England to offer an active Christian collective worship every day, largely of a Christian character. If it's not appropriate for that act of worship to be of a Christian character, a school should apply for a determination to say that they will offer the spiritual development of the children in a way which is not entirely of a Christian character. And that's what the determination is about. It's about a school saying it's not appropriate for us to offer Christian worship to our children. We will offer it spiritual development in a different way. And every 5 years, a school has to apply and show that they are still catering for the spiritual development of their children, but not within the Christian frameworks. That's what the determination is about. It's not actually about the teaching of RE. It's about the assemblies and the active collective worship and the spiritual development of the children.
Thank you, Sue. That's very clear. Thank you.
But
Thank you very much.
Can I just ask then, Sue, on that basis, though, Christianity will come into the equation in the same way that Judaism, obviously, demonstrably here has been brought in. So Christianity will be brought in as one of the world faiths, and included in that sense, in a plural sense rather than an absolute sense. And in that sense, I'm totally with it, I have to say.
Yeah. Absolutely. And actually, you know, one of the examples I gave in my report was, you know, they did look at Christmas as part of their schedule. And their reflection question was, you know, Christmas is a time for giving and receiving. What can I give to my community, to my family, to my school? So, you know, it's very much used, the different faiths are used as a springboard to find common ground and spiritual reflections.
Yeah, great.
Yeah. As Jan Maguire stated, collective worship is the focus in schools. And there is a question from Brajinder. Brajinder, shall I read it? What does therapeutic? Yeah, what does therapeutic thinking involve?
Hi, yeah. So therapeutic thinking is it's an initiative that's been brought in by Ealing, and it's been commissioned by the Ealing Learning Partnership that the school has employed. It's a different way of looking at behaviour and relationships, and kind of how schools would approach behaviour management from a kind of therapeutic way rather than a punishment and sanction sort of way.
May I know who's speaking?
Sorry.
David. Right, okay. Yeah. Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
I wonder if I could just add to what Sue has been saying, because
Sue, yes.
we talked about collective worship just now, but historically, Ealing has understood that you can't compel people to worship. So if you look at past examples of determination documents, and the syllabuses, we have talked about reflection, but I think that's usually synonymous with what we talk about when we're talking about collective worship.
Right, Sinead, I think, Brajinder, have you, you have read it. Yeah, Sinead said, therapeutic thinking is a philosophy. It focuses on how all children and young people are to be supported, particularly in terms of their emotional well-being and mental health. We provide a trauma-informed approach to behavior for all educational settings and wider stakeholders, grounded in evidence-based research. I think you can all read all these views in the chat. I don't need. I don't need to read it.
David also was explaining there how Ealing has adopted this as an approach. So on top of that's just given you a really broad sort of overview of what it is, but actually we've had a lead in Ealing who's delivered 3-day training to senior leaders and school-based staff in order to provide evidence-based research on how we respond to children. So it's a set of ideals, but Ealing have invested quite all of our schools kind of into this approach. But the key bit is that it's trauma-informed.
Yeah, thank you. Anyone else has any views? No. So we have reported this report and reviewed. Shall we approve it? Agreed to
that, Chair. Yes. Yeah.
Agreed? Yeah.
Yes, Chair.
Yes, thank you very much.
Agreed,
thank you. Thank you very much.
Agreed.
Thanks, David, for coming to attend this meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you all. Appreciate that. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Yeah, bye-bye. Agenda item 8 is local and national updates. I would like to ask Jan McGuire to put some light on this issue, please. Yeah. Jan? Jan, are you there?
Jan, you're still muted.
You muted yourself.
I think I should have unmuted myself before sharing my screen, so I've had to just come out and I'll re-share again. Sorry about that. Okay. Hopefully you'll be able to see my window in a moment. It's taking a while to get up. Okay. Right, everybody, so it has been a very busy time once again, and I hope that you've had the chance to have a quick look at the slides, and I'm just going to run through the main things that have been happening, not just nationally, but also regionally and locally. So first of all, SACRE. So SACRE is the National Association for SACREs. They've been running a number of webinars for us all to attend. So you will be invited to those. If you're on SACRE, you should get invitations that enable you to attend free of charge. The next one is going to be a London-based one. So I will ask Makisha or our new clerk, Zaina, to send those round to you when those become available. They're quite useful, especially those of you that would like to just understand a little bit more about what your role on SACRE is, what your responsibilities are as a counsellor or as a member of the faith group or as a head teacher or a teacher in school. The second thing that SACRE has shared recently is that we obviously need to be making sure that our annual reports are in. And as you're aware, it has been more difficult to get them in as early as we used to because of the examination data is coming out later. So our annual report is now ready, and that is something that Councillor Dear may wish to return to speak about a little bit later when I take my slides down. But we're right ready for that now. We've got all of the information that we require. The Agreed Syllabus Conference is really underway, and I just wanted to say thank you very much to all of you for your support at the last meeting. It really does mean that if we have your backing, we can really push forward with making progress with the Agreed Syllabus Conference. And it's been a really exciting time. We've had some lovely meetings with the teachers face to face, where we've been asking them all kinds of questions about what they would like to see in the new syllabus. We also invited 2 sets of speakers to come along for the teachers to listen to their ideas about how they could provide resources for the classroom. So we invited RE Today. Now, RE Today was the organisation that Ealing decided to go with 5 years ago. And so the question that we posed with the teachers this time is, was it working? And if it was working, what was it that they liked about RE Today? And if it isn't working, what is it that we needed to improve? And then we set some tasks or some really ideas that we wanted to put to RE Today, and RE Today have been invited to respond to that today, and they're going to be talking to us at about 8:15, and so you will get to hear how they think they can solve some of the problems that the teachers highlighted in that session. So it was a really useful session. The other group invited was Jigsaw, because some of our members, some of our teachers in Ealing are using those materials, and I really wanted the teachers to understand how they could use the materials and whether or not there might be problems using those materials. So it was a very interesting session, because Jigsaw is quite expensive for schools to buy into. And what we don't want are for schools in Ealing to spend their very precious money on resources which might not actually fit the agreed syllabus. And so we really made Jigsaw work quite hard for us. And the teachers raised a number of questions. They thought that Jigsaw could be an answer for schools that had very new RE teachers that didn't have much background in resourcing RE. But most of the teachers felt that Jigsaw didn't really match the Ealing syllabus. So it's very interesting. We are getting an idea of the teachers that might like to join our ASC group. And I think that probably about 2/3 of the teachers that are attending the network meetings will now help us to write those materials going forward. They seem really committed to that. And in addition, we also had 2 teachers that put themselves forward from Ealing for a Farmington Scholarship, which is a wonderful opportunity to join Oxford University for 1 or 2 years to do a piece of research which will benefit not just their own school, but will also benefit the Agreed Syllabus Conference and SACRE. Both of the candidates have just heard that they have been called for interview. This is fabulous, because often you don't get through to that stage. So I'm very positive that we are going to have a Farmington Scholarship in Ealing this year. I think it will be your first ever. So that's wonderful. The 2 schools that those of you that might be interested, that the teachers are teaching in, we've got Horsenden and Montpellier. So you might know those schools, and so please do encourage them. You know, we're going to be hearing very, very shortly whether or not they are through. So by the end of March, we should know. I would call out to SACRE, please. So now we're getting a better group together for the Agreed Syllabus Conference. I would be really pleased to know of SACRE members that would like to join that Agreed Syllabus Conference working party. So if you are interested, if you would like to put your names in the chat, and Makisha, if you would be very kind and make sure that their names are recorded, and I can then be in touch with you. The two groups that spoke to the teachers, as I mentioned before, were Jigsaw and RE Today. And RE Today was definitely the group that the teachers felt had the most I suppose, most interest for them. So this is why they're going to be coming to speak to you today. Now, it doesn't mean that we have to continue with our relationship with RE Today, even though you've had a 5-year relationship with them so far in Ealing. Every time there is a new syllabus at conference, you have the opportunity to either continue a relationship or to make a new one. So just so that you're aware of that, it's important for you to feel comfortable with moving forward with the group. If you think that RE Today can offer the teachers what they need, then obviously you may today decide that's what you would like to do. But you might feel that actually it hasn't been as successful as you want. So either you want a very new support package from RE Today, or you might decide that it isn't worth the money. That's up to you to decide. The alternatives, of course, are that schools themselves will buy into a package. So it could be that they buy into Jigsaw. Some schools may do that. But I have requested that they provide a map for Ealing against our criteria for the syllabus, because otherwise teachers will find it very difficult to use their resources. And they are currently working on that. The other thing to say is that what we can do, and what I will do anyway, is to try to provide additional support for teachers to upskill them. I know that Marion spoke about this in the last meeting, and I'm totally in agreement that it's really important to upskill our teachers so they have a real depth of understanding of the worldviews, not just in Ealing, but also outside of Ealing. And so what we can do is to use opportunities like Farmington, but also some other free opportunities which are being offered by NATRE and also by RE Online. And I'm going to be using those at the network meetings so that teachers actually have some support if they get stuck with anything. So we're really looking to upskill the teachers as well as trying to provide them with additional resources to make sure that they're teaching really fantastic RE in their lessons. In addition to that, we've got a lot of waves that are being made nationally, and some of you will be very aware of those, I'm sure, in your roles as counsellors. So at the moment, there is a very big curriculum review, which is just about to be released. So we will get to hear what nationally teachers, head teachers, and the community have been saying about what they would like to see in the curriculum going forward. And Ealing were asked to comment. So Ealing SACRE were actually asked to comment on religious education and also wider. And many other people in the country have been commenting on the importance of change within religious education, because they feel at the moment that teachers are not being supported as much as they should be. And in fact, we just don't have enough religious education teachers in schools nationally. It's a really difficult area to actually secure teachers in at the moment. Tied up to that curriculum review will of course be Ofsted, and we are still awaiting more information around Ofsted and religious education. Currently, we tend to refer back to the review from 2023 and 2021 for our Ofsted information. And that is what I tend to train the teachers in Ealing on at the moment. The call for evidence came through to Ealing, and Sinead and I had the responsibility of making sure that we were responding in Ealing's on Ealing's behalf. So that has already gone. But then I was also called to the House of Commons on the 15th of January to attend a meeting on the Children's Bill and the curriculum review in my role as the chair of the Association of Religious Education Inspectors, Advisors and Consultants. And every time I attend those, of course, I also try to make sure that I represent all of my local authorities, including Ealing, to give us a voice. It was a very interesting meeting, and I think the message that's coming through is that religious education is still very much on the agenda, and that the Labour government are hoping to ensure that religious education is going to be in a much better place going forward. One of the things that we can continue to do, however, is to lobby government, especially around finance. One of the bugbears around religious education and SACRE remains the finance side, because it currently is not ring-fenced. So that might be something that some of you may feel is worth sending a letter in, and we are always encouraged from SACRE to send our letters into government. So if anyone would like to do that, that would be wonderful. The other bit of news, which some of you might have already received actually in your inboxes, is the In Conversation with SACRE, and we belong to the London Network Group. And this one was from November, but they're coming out all the time. So just be aware that you should be having one anytime soon. I think the next one is in March. So just look out for this kind of style email, and it will be an invitation to attend a conversation, but also an invitation to train as a speaker. If you belong to a worldviews group or faith group and you would like to become a speaker to support schools in Ealing, where you can go in and speak to the children about your worldview, and you would like to take part in the training, which means that you will have an accreditation, then just please look out for that. That will be in your inbox. I'll just make sure that the clerk sends it to you. Okay, so just to sum up, really, I suppose the biggest message that's coming through nationally and regionally is that we still need to be proactive as a SACRE. We don't know what the curriculum and assessment review is going to recommend, but what we do know is that changes always take time. So what we want to make sure is that our SACRE remains proactive. The most important thing for us in Ealing at the moment is to make sure we've got a fantastic syllabus which will go into schools for our teachers and our children to follow, to make sure they've got fantastic RE. So that's got to be our priority, and that's what we're working on really hard at the moment. We've got the responses from the school surveys, which is really helpful. We do know what they're wanting and what they're needing, and you were sent that. So any questions around that, please do ask. We're going to continue to offer training. We've got Ofsted awareness training coming up very shortly. We've also been supporting teachers and head teachers. Governors are also invited, and anybody that you think would benefit from that training, please do just make them aware. We're continuing to upskill teachers in depth and knowledge of religions and worldviews. That's ongoing and will never finish. And anybody that would like to be involved in that, do always let me know. I would welcome your support. And moving forward, we of course will be moving forward with the Ealing Finance and Action Plan steps. So I think we're very much on track at the moment. And I would just like to say thank you to everyone, and especially to Makisha for her support as clerk as she's moving forward. Thank you very much, Makisha. Thank you very much, Sinead, for your ongoing support. I really do appreciate it. And Councillor Dear, who's always by my side, thank you very much. I think we're very fortunate as a SACRE. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jan, for your updates. Members, do you have any questions? Anything to be clarified? Councillor Mahmood. Yeah, Councillor Mahmood.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Jan, for your very encouraging the presentation and couple of very good news, which we have been waiting for a long time. Like you said, first time in the history, I'm not sure about the history, but first time ever, the 2 Ealing schools, the teachers have got the scholarship. Correct me if I'm wrong, you said Montepullier and Horizontal Primary School. Yeah, that is very encouraging, to be honest, and good to know that the new administration as a Labour government is still very much secular education, and SACRE is very much on the agenda. And very encouraging to see our hard work, and I'm very thankful for all the SACRE member which they have worked hard about the last agreed syllabus, and the feedback you are giving us, that is very encouraging. So my question is that, because you said you have been working with other local authorities as well. So I just wanted to know at the end of this presentation, what is your view about Ealing, Ealing SACRE situation, where we are in your point of view, by if you could get the reference from the surroundings borough. Thanks ever so much, and thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Councillor Mahmood. Jan?
Thank you so much, and thank you for your encouragement too. I think you are a really excellent SACRE. I'm very fortunate to work with you all. One of the things I can feed back is that we continue to be held up as gold standard as a SACRE in terms of our determination work. And I think today that you just really demonstrated that with Sue's excellent work and the support from all of the team, that Sinead is there in the background always, and with the all of the support that all of you give for that determination process, inviting the head teacher, getting your reports ready. It really is gold standard. And I would really like just to remind you of that. Sometimes we can be very hard on ourselves, I think, as SACREs, because we don't meet very often. But actually, there's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes. So that is something to hold up. The other thing to say is, in terms of the agreed syllabus, I would say that the current Ealing syllabus is probably a little bit behind the most modern syllabi that exist in the country. So I'm being absolutely honest with you. You asked for an honest response, so I will be honest with you. So the most modern of the syllabi would be much more around worldviews, and it would be a sequential syllabus starting at age 4 through to 19, following the same criteria all the way through. Now, with the current syllabus, it is slightly more 2012 to 2018 in its kind of foundation. Now, that's not to say that it's a bad syllabus. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying, it is not as up to date as it might be. But we all understand that to have a very up to date syllabus costs a lot of money. And at when we had our discussions, we decided that in a time when our money was quite tight, that it would be better for us to make the syllabus we have better, rather than to have a completely new shift. But it would be something to think about maybe for the next revision in 5 years' time. And then that would also give all of you as members of SACRE the opportunity to have a look at some of those modern syllabi in more depth, because they are being published now in quite quick succession. So in the next 1 to 2 years, you will have quite a lot more syllabi to look at in terms of reference. And I think that would be quite useful for you. But I think that we can respond to what the teachers have said around upskilling them in worldviews so that they have a deep understanding of worldviews in Ealing. That's something we can certainly support. And the other thing that we can continue to support is that development of teacher understanding of those more modern approaches to religious education. So we can certainly upskill them in that sense. And if we can support the teachers with better resources, then I think that they will feel more confident to teach religious education in the classroom as well. And I think we've got a very good group of teachers that are attending quite regularly now to the networks. And that's a very positive thing if we can continue to keep that going. So I think there are lots of positives. There are some things to just be aware of if we want to be the best of SACREs. And of course, that's a good SACRE should always be looking to improve, shouldn't it? You know, that's what a good SACRE always does. But thank you so much for your question, Councillor Mahmood. I think you're very aware, I think, of these things already. But thank you.
Thank you, Jan. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Anyone else to add anything?
Just a request from Jan, if you could stop sharing your screen.
Your screen, yeah.
Ah, I thought I had. So is there something I haven't done? I've clicked on the don't share button. Is there something else I need not to do?
I think at the bottom of your screen, there is a button that says stop sharing.
It's on the top of my screen and I have done that. It says I've already done that. So for some reason,
it hasn't.
It hasn't.
Perhaps if you try to reshare and then do it again, maybe.
Let's do that. It's not letting me for some reason. Okay, let's try that. Okay, and then I'll stop sharing again. Hopefully this will stop the glitch. Has that improved it?
No.
No. I don't know why that is. I'm sorry.
Perhaps if you leave the meeting and come back in.
And then come back in, yes.
Let me leave the meeting and I will try and come back in.
Yeah.
That's so much better.
Sinead, you want to say anything? Your hand is up.
Yeah, it was a few comments, but I'll start with Jan mentioned in conversation with NASACRE, the SACRE, she called it.
That's SACRE, yeah.
Yeah. That I attended the one that took place in November, being new to SACRE and my responsibilities, and I found it really, really useful. Just for a bit of perspective, because you meet and see and talk with lots of other local authorities, so it gives you a perspective, but it also in terms of where you're supposed to be at as a local authority compared to others, and there's also lots of professionals in a similar role to Jan that work across lots of different local authorities, so I found it really helpful and informative, and would recommend it to anybody who has the time to come to one. The next one in March. I'll try and prioritise that as well. And then just a couple of things really around the teacher representation. And I think it was mentioned at the last meeting that we held here around curriculum and how important it was to have teacher voice at the heart of that review. Because they're the ones that are going to ultimately be using it, and echo what Jan was saying there around what they're saying in terms of the skill set being really important, obviously, as well as the content, but the skills with which to deliver it, because you could have the best curriculum in the world, but quality first teaching, if that's not there, you know, then the outcomes won't be as good for our children. And we do have a really strong network. We've also got the advantage of the Ealing Learning Partnership, where our schools are already incredibly well connected in terms of shared skill and connections, not just in RE, so kind of using those to promote the RE. So what we intend to do is, as well as obviously use the RE networks to do that, but use the channels of communication to widen that offer to any RE teachers who want to be involved in that curriculum review, so that we get a rich group of people to be able to move forward on that front as well.
Thanks, Junaid. I think, is it Councillor Mahmood? Your hand is up, or it's a legacy hand?
No, Chair, just a quick clarification with Junaid. So through the Chair, can I ask you, do we really running out of RE teacher? And if it is the case, so what encouragement we can give it to the new teacher to become RE teacher?
Sorry, I'm not sure that I understand the question. You're talking about recruitment. What I was suggesting was that just because a teacher isn't coming to the network doesn't mean that they might not want to be involved in some way with the curriculum review. So just to widen that communication, that opportunity was there. But I think you're asking, you're asking a separate question around recruitment of RE teachers.
True, that is true.
Right, okay, yeah. I can take that away. I think that might be a wider question that I can come back with at the next meeting in terms of.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. It is.
Is that okay?
Yeah. That's right.
No problem, Chair. Thank you.
Thanks, Sinead. Thanks, Councillor Mahmood. So I think there are no hands up. So report is noted. Taking your
thank you very much.
Yes. Yeah. Right. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks.
Right. So next item is it Jan back? Jan Maguire.
Well, it could be me. It might be a double act, but I did wonder, Councillor Dear, if you wanted to return to the question of the annual report, and I may have missed that when I was when I had to leave the room to come back in. But did you return to vote through the annual report or discuss the annual report?
We just to discuss about the local and national updates. We haven't talked about the national report yet. It's not under the curriculum assessment review?
No, it's usually under SACRE because the annual report has now been completed and we are at the stage when we do need to vote it through. But there were a couple of issues that were holding the annual report up at that time. So I don't know whether it got formally released to everybody, actually.
It's not.
No.
No.
So it may be that we just give everybody a heads up. I would suggest, if you are in agreement, that we could have a Google vote. So I could create like a little Google form and everyone can vote online if you're happy with the annual report. And this is what I tend to do with other local authorities.
Yeah, so you are saying you will send us a report, then we can vote online.
Yes,
yeah.
So the report is completed and it is being held by Ealing at the moment, but it just needs to be released to the members so that they can agree it.
Okay, that's not in the pack, I'm afraid. Yeah, okay, that's fine. Members, do you agree with this proposal?
Yep, makes good sense, Chair.
Thank you. Yep. Thank you very much, Jan. Yeah, we will wait for your report.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Let's talk about item number 9, Jan, curriculum and assessment review. I read this report with interest. Very helpful and useful views. A reflection from schools and teachers, also from head teachers. I would like to ask you to really talk about this curriculum and assessment review to all members, please. Yeah.
So the curriculum and assessment review was a document which was being shared right across the country from the Labour government, who are interested in finding out the shape of the curriculum and assessment going forward in our country. What should it look like? What kind of things should we be focusing on? What issues are there? What things are broken? What things work well in education at the moment? But the focus that I obviously had the question coming to me was about religious education. So I was really focusing on about 11 of the 58 questions that they posed. And I tried to make sure that I was answering from a religious education, but also from an Ealing SACRE point of view. And they were asking questions such as, are we given enough time? Well, of course, the answer is it is very inconsistent. Time across any school given to RE will be dependent on so many things, on timetabling, on teaching staff, and so on. So I made that very clear that there is a lack of consistency. The other thing that they were asking about is in terms of whether or not religious education is actually being taught. Is there any accountability if it's not being taught, and so on? So I did raise some questions over that. Really, I'm asking for Ofsted to be more responsible for that. That's not something our teachers can be responsible for. But there needs to be some accountability. If there is a law, and the law has been in place since 1944, of course, then there should be some accountability for schools to be teaching religious education. I did also raise the issues that our schools have regarding teaching and teachers, because we know that there is a real issue in recruiting religious education teachers. And that's something which has been for a long time now. But we do have a bursary now. The government does allow a £10,000 bursary to support teachers coming to train as religious education teachers. But I did point out that that wasn't enough. So there are certain things that obviously I'm sort of talking about from a broad sense. But I didn't answer all of the questions, and that's where my partner Sinead came in, because Sinead looked at the questions and thought that it was worth putting in some other comments as well about education more widely. Sinead, I don't know if you'd like to say anything further.
Yeah, so initially perhaps a miscommunication, but yeah, as Jan pointed out, it's a national, I don't know if anyone's ever been involved in a consultation process before, but essentially when big changes are being proposed, the DfE would put out a set of questions to gather people's thoughts and feelings and opinions, and cast the net very wide in order to gather that to be fully informed. So I've done some in various other different areas in the past. So the questions could be very generic. In this case, there were, because it was looking at the whole of the curriculum, and it was focusing, as it suggests, on assessment, particularly, sorry, the lights keep going off here because I'm in the office alone. Yeah, so it focused on assessment as well. So what I did is, when Jan very helpfully put together very extensive answers from a SACRE and RE perspective, I picked out the main themes of those and saw where they fitted into other questions. So I'm trying to look for kind of a good example, and I can share this this document as a PDF, but obviously because I've answered all the 58 questions, it's about 18 pages long. but I was just looking here to sort of see a good one that kind of summarised that. So, for example, what? Okay. I did just have a really good one here. Okay, so it asks about quite a lot of questions around English and maths, and I also asked my colleagues, advisory colleagues in assessment and primary and secondary as well for their perspective, because some of them had answered the consultation as individuals also. So there was a question here, ensuring an excellent foundation in maths and English. That was a whole section. To what extent does the content of the national curriculum at primary level enable pupils to gain an excellent foundation in English and maths, and are there ways in which the content could change to better support this aim? And they were particularly looking at transition. So what came out very heavily in Jan's answers was how the depth of RE curriculum might not necessarily support good progression. So my response to this would be, in English, the content can be too skills heavy and not enough depth or support to access, understand and discuss some of the rich texts in other subject areas such as RE. So really kind of picking out where those RE themes were strong, but answering the question from an English and maths perspective. And that was throughout, because all of the different sections were specifically set up general views on curriculum, but also there was a section on social justice and inclusion. There was a section on, as I mentioned, excellent foundation in maths and English, curriculum and qualification content, but I did explore some of the responses around, say, reflection and social skill set as well, particularly around RE.
One of the important things, I think, thank you, Sinead, you quite rightly pick out that there are lots of links actually. So although we might be talking about religious education from a SACRE point of view, a lot of the comments that we make are quite generic actually, because if you want good RE, the things that you're looking for in good religious education will be in other subjects too. You know, there are similarities, but there are also differences. And one of the biggest differences I think that was coming through in the answers that we gave was around the plurality, around the multi-religious and the multi-secular and kind of importance that religious education plays in developing a child's understanding and knowledge to prepare them for their future lives in the world, in that bigger world. And I was trying to get across the idea that religious education does have a particular importance in that sense, and that we can build that multi-religious and multi-secular understanding of a modern worldview. And if we don't have good religious education, then that is when that fails. And that's when children may not learn to differ well and to understand that although there are differences, that they can learn to live with others and can have dialogue with others and can differ well with others. And I think that that was what we were trying to get across, that religious education has a fundamentally important role to play in that. So I just wanted to say thank you to Sinead very much for supporting me and also SACRE in making sure that that document was filled and sent in on behalf of all of us. And it is an honour to be asked, of course, and Ealing was asked, although it's hard work, it is an honour to be asked to respond to a curriculum review. And I hope that we will soon hear what the responses are to that and we can feed back to you all. But thank you, Sinead.
Thank you very much, Jan and Sinead. Any reports? Lux, your light is flashing. Do you want to say anything?
Sorry about that. No, I did not. I unmuted myself unintentionally.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Could I just echo the same actually back to Jan, that the request came through quite late to us. We both had a very short amount of time to turn it around. So to give it the attention and to reflect, I think, the high quality work that this committee does was really good. You know, was really good that we were able to sort of prioritise that. But we had about 2 weeks to kind of turn around and resubmit the responses to all of the questions. So thanks to Jan for doing that as well. Yeah,
that's right, Sinead. It was quite late, and the time scale was very, very tight. Yeah, well done. Yeah, you responded very well. Thank you very much, Jan and Sinead. Members, any?
Chair, thank you very much. I'd just like to say I can't agree. I can't even. It's a huge response, and you've been asked to do it very quickly. Thank you very much. And what you said, I mean, I can only agree with that. In a place like Ealing, where there are so many different kinds of people, religious education is one sort of way we can unlock that tolerance and dialogue between everybody. And you're doing that, and that's the key thing, really. Yeah.
Great. Thanks, Councillor Current. Right, members, have the report reported? Have you noted the report?
We have.
Agreed. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, so, agreed, Chair. Yes, yep.
Agreed, Chair.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you. Noted. The report is noted. Number 10 is next. SACRE membership, Sinead.
So SANAP was going to give a very brief update on this. That Makisha and SANAP have been working very hard to put together where the vacancies are and have an up to date. And I think we agreed at the last meeting to vote. Were we going to vote at this meeting about where attendance had been, where people hadn't attended for more than 2 meetings?
Yeah.
To ask if they wanted to continue to be a member. So that's been happening, which is, as you can imagine, has been quite a big piece of work. So ongoing, there are still some vacancies. And then I had a question to put to the committee around this in terms of how we could, where we knew where the vacancies were, about where we could go to for potential new recruits to join. And I don't know, Jan might have some kind of ideas on that, or maybe I am tasked to bring that to the next in conversation SACRE meeting to get other local authorities kind of ideas and views about where to go and how to kind of advertise it more positively.
Jan, you want to add?
Yes, thank you so much to Makisha and to SANAP and to Sinead for obviously looking at the membership continually. Usually we go to the associations first, so that's our usual port of call. So if there is a vacancy and we know, let's say that it could be a SEEK vacancy, we would go to the SEEK associations first to find out whether or not they've already got a list of contacts to put us in contact with. If that fails, then we usually go to our local community. So if we've got an interfaith community, then we will ask at SACRE for members to go to the local community to seek people to come forward, and they can come as observers, so they can come to a meeting and just observe, so they don't have to join immediately. And then at the end of the meeting, I'm always willing to stay behind to have a discussion with the people that come to observe to see whether or not they then felt that they would like to then join. And then SANAP and Makisha and Sinead would then invite them formally. So that's usually what would happen. So we might be calling on some of you to help us. We'll see how it goes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Jan. Councillor Mahmood. Councillor Mahmood.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. So slightly delay action. I'm sorry, Chair. The firstly, we need to, I think, in terms of membership, I think firstly what we need to do is we need to see where the gaps are there, which community group and which faith group we need to fill it, and then in the next meeting, if you present that vacancies where the people we needed, then I'm happy to work. Myself, Councillor Gallant and Councillor Raza, we met lots of community group in last 6 or 7 months. So we are happy to help where the gaps are, but we need to know where the vacancies are, which community group, faith group we needed. So that would be really helpful if in the next meeting, if you let us know where the vacancies are. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Councillor Mahmood. Thanks. I think we knew where the gaps were in the past membership lists, but now, as Sinead mentioned, our staff, Zainab, and our clerk, they are working hard. And also, I think it will be great if you, Aisha, and Julian can really help them to fill those gaps. Thank you very much.
I'm happy to work with you.
Are you thinking, Chair, just asking you, is big one.
Sorry, Julian. Carry on, Julian.
Sorry, Aisha, I interrupted you. I didn't mean to. I beg your pardon.
Aisha, do you want to say?
No, that's fine. I was just saying I'm happy to do that. That's all.
Thank you.
So we will work together.
Thank you.
Work together.
Are you thinking about your voice, your town, Tariq? Is that
no, Julian? I will. In terms of faith and community group, I'm happy to work you, me, and Aisha, and we could work on that. Thank you.
Right.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you, colleagues. Thank you. Yeah. Okay, that's great. So let's move on to give me 1 second. Yeah. Thank you very much, Ned, for the feedback to us. Right, item number 11. I think it will be Julia. Julia Diamond Conway. She's with us, and I think she will be discussing with us about ASA Agreed Syllabus Conference Finance Proposal, Timeline and Feedback. Is that Jen, you and Julia, both of you?
Yes, I believe. A double act, I think.
Double act, yes.
2 days.
Yeah. So that's right. Yeah, who will start? Who will?
I think, should I pass to you, Jan, to start us off?
Yes,
right, Jan.
Well, first of all, yes, it's always a privilege to have guests attend a SACRE meeting, and Julia Diamond Conway is a very special guest indeed, and Julia works very hard nationally to make sure that religious education gets a lot of support. So thank you, Julia, for attending tonight, because I know you have a very busy life.
Yeah.
So Julia works for RE Today, and over the last 5 years, Ealing has had quite a close relationship with RE Today, and a lot of our schools have continued to use the materials that RE Today publishes, so that they buy some of those materials in. But we also still use historically a piece of work that was done to support your last agreed syllabus. So one of the things we did was we put a question to the teachers to find out how they were finding using the current documentation that we've got for the syllabus. And as a result of the responses, we then asked Julia to come in to speak to the teachers as well. And I think we gathered some more ideas, didn't we, Julia? And so Julia is going to really feed back from that this evening to give us some ideas about where we might go next. Julia, is that a good summary?
That is a really, really good summary of what we did and where we're up to. I should just say that my colleague Ian Nicholson has also just entered the meeting as well. And so Ian is also a national advisor at RE today, and we are going to present our part of what we spoke to the teachers about and their feedback to us and what we think we can do as a bit of a double act, if that is okay. So what I was
double act.
Yeah,
thank you.
What I was wondering was whether Ian or myself could share our screen. I will give it a go. Is that okay?
It's okay. Yeah. I think it's fine. Yeah, it's okay.
Have a go. Here we are. Right.
Yeah.
Can that be seen?
Yes, it is on my screen.
Oh, let's go back to the beginning. Yeah. Okay, then. Well, thank you so much for welcoming Ian and myself here tonight. We're absolutely delighted to have been invited to SACRE. And actually, many thanks to Jan, who gave us the opportunity to discuss ways that teachers had identified they needed to move forward and some solutions to those ways with the teachers at the end of January. And then many thank you to Jan and to the teachers for suggesting 5 ways in which they'd like to move forward and in which we can help Ealing schools in light of those discussions we had in January. So you will have seen this slide in your SACRE pack tonight, and it is the teachers group's ideas of how we can help RE in Ealing to move forward. So Ian and myself and other staff at RE today have looked at the teachers' ideas, and we've thought about them in great detail. And obviously, there are a lot of them, so we had to narrow things down and whittle things down. And what we really feel is at the current time, some of these are really crucial. And we hope that we can complete these crucial pieces of work within a budget, and that you can see here there are 5 commissioned documents or tasks. We think 2 are pretty crucial to start off with, but the other ones can flow from these, and we can potentially discuss the exact requirements of the other ones and have a look at getting started on those once the initial crucial tasks are on their way. So I'm going to focus in on one of these commissioned documents there, possible commissioned documents, and I'll let you read what people asked for. Okay, so we have highlighted possible commission document 3 as the absolutely key initial document that schools really do need. So we know from discussions with Jan and Jan's discussions with teachers that you already have a syllabus, and lots of people are hoping to keep that syllabus, and that lots of people are using the RE Today units, which Ealing brought in a few years ago, because they match that syllabus. And also from discussions, we know from teachers' feedback that something from within the syllabus they have found really, really useful are the 6 areas of inquiry that are referred to here. And they are something teachers are really quite keen to develop, and they seem to be working well for Ealing's pupils. And of course, we're all here tonight for Ealing's pupils, aren't we? But if teachers are using the RE Today units, and they're using the 6 areas of inquiry, something that does not exist is a document showing how the RE Today units link to the 6 areas of inquiry. And actually, to have a document showing how those things are linked together is going to be really, really helpful for our RE leads and actually for all the teachers in Ealing. So what we would propose is to create a document where we took each of the units in turn and linked each unit to the 6 areas. Now, of course, we would need to confirm with you exactly what is expected in this document before we make a start. But our vision is to actually take each of the units and match it to some of the 6 areas that match most naturally to it. So we're not making tenuous links or expecting teachers and schools to do things that are too tricky. We'll match them very naturally, because traditionally a helpful way of working for schools that have syllabuses with these 6 areas in is actually not to try to do each of the 6 areas in depth in every single unit. It's just too much. You can't do them all in depth. So a well-used way of working is to do 2 of the areas in every single unit. So we would hope to match each of the units to 2 areas of inquiry from the syllabus. Now, there are some parameters about this, as the 6 areas of inquiry basically split into 2 groups. You've got areas A, B, and C, and they are really learning about religions. So learning things like facts, but also what we do with the facts, and lots and lots of RE skills there. And then areas D, E, and F, and they are more linked to personal knowledge. Okay, so the idea would be that what we would like to do to help teachers is to actually match each unit to 2 strands, one from the A, B, and C group, and one from the D, E, and F group, so that in each unit, children are getting both types of knowledge. Okay, but we're not overwhelming everybody by asking them to do all 6 areas at once. And another thing we would like to do is, over a 2-year period, we would like to make sure that pupils get the same amount of opportunities to focus on the strands. So, for example, in years 1 and 2, we wouldn't say, oh, well, the children are going to do lots and lots and lots of strand or area B to the detriment of areas A and C. No, we'll try and do the same amount of A, B, and C, the same amount of D, E, and F over 2 years. So, what we would advise here, as we've said, is having the key questions from the RE Today units and 2 areas of inquiry to go with each. And we would map those out for you, and we would match those for you, because we're very familiar with the areas of inquiry and we're very familiar with the RE Today units. Obviously, we would need to have a discussion, because obviously the teachers have asked about having intent and objectives on that document as well. But actually, we know that your syllabus has objectives in it already. And what we would not want to do is to add any extra objectives, because actually by adding some extra things, we think that document might confuse teachers. It might just be too much. We don't want documents, we don't want objectives in the syllabus and objectives on the document. That might be too confusing. We want one set that teachers go to. Okay, but one of the reasons why we think this is your key initial document actually is that nearly all the other possible commission documents or tasks that the teachers have asked for are relating back to the 6 areas of inquiry. So teachers really, if they're going to use the RE Today units, do need guidance about which areas of inquiry to do with each unit. And they need that early on, so that everything else can flow from it. So that if schools create lesson plans, if schools create PowerPoints, if schools create methods of assessment linked to the syllabus and the RE Today unit, they have a really clear idea of what they are doing with those areas of inquiry and which areas of inquiry are the best ones to focus on in that unit. So that would be something that we say is absolutely key to begin with, that document there. And I think I'm going to pass over to Ian, who is going to talk about the other document that teachers have asked for that we think is absolutely key.
So thank you everybody for inviting us along to SACRE this evening. It's really good to see you all. As Julia said, I was the newest member of the team for quite some time, but not anymore. So having spent 31 years in school, it's a bit strange to think that I've been there for so long. One of the documents that really came through in the discussions that Julia had with the teachers was around the idea of vocabulary. And you can see there what they've asked for is a clear vocabulary list sequenced by progression. And we know that progression is the heart of everything in school we're trying to do, so that children can move forward in their learning and really enable them to interact with the curriculum from early years all the way through to embed their learning and their understanding of religion and the impact religion has in the world. And the key area for them was to actually look at the sticky or tier words per year group from within the syllabus. So from within your own syllabus that you have already, identifying for the teachers what are the tier 3, the key language that religion is talking about in terms of the religions that they are studying in school. And one of the areas here as well is very much saying to the teachers, actually, for many teachers who are non-specialists, the vocabulary can be really quite can be quite difficult for them if there are words they're not aware of. But the aim is to looking at this idea of document 1, which is what teachers talked about, to show progression around suggesting about 5 sticky words that will become the basis of the progression model alongside the study of the religion. But we make sure they are then linked to those areas of inquiry that Julia talked about earlier, so that we have the agreed syllabus. Schools have those RE Today units that are linked to the syllabus, but it's drawing out for them in terms of how language and understanding of language can be progressed for the faith within them. So we won't be introducing new language for the teachers, but we would be identifying for them and explaining how language and understanding of language and words built from year to year, so that we can see, I go back to the Christian Council comment, therefore, that knowledge and the vocabulary is the basis of progression within the curriculum. The curriculum is the progression model. And one of the key elements here around what we're current thinking is, with curriculum design being very important now in schools, where teachers are happy and they can see those links, they'll be able to use their understanding of the vocabulary around the religions and the ways of knowing, and then be able to support their colleagues in school to deliver this one, but then be able to say, well, actually, in this area of inquiry and in the RE Today units, these words are the same, this is what they mean, and this is how we encounter them in early years foundation stage, and this is how we would encounter them within year 2, year 3, year 4 and year 5. So that actually that progression is central to the work the teachers are doing in school. And when they're explaining progression to senior leaders, to governors, or to anybody in school, they're able to actually say, the link is here in our curriculum. We've drawn out, we've shown them how to plan this, and we've made it very clear that the RE Today units, the Ealing, the agreed syllabus there, really marries the two together through the use of vocab and the areas of inquiry, which is really key. So it's building on the strengths of the syllabus, but supporting teacher knowledge by giving them guidance on what progression would be. And we feel in that way that the two documents interact well together. When Julie and I were talking about this one, these were the two documents we thought would really spring to mind to build that forward for the teachers. And so what we're proposing is, if we were to look at this work, is saying that actually that's probably going to be a few days work for us, costing around £2,600, but we would then sit down with you before we did this and really agree exactly what you wanted to come from it and exactly how you wanted to do it. So this would ensure then that actually the list of questions from the RE Today units, the areas of inquiry and the vocab list would bring all that learning together into one document. So rather than teachers having 5 or 6 documents to look at, they have their syllabus, they have the guidance from the RE Today units, but then they have one that brings it together. And that way we're streamlining for the teachers how they are developing and delivering the curriculum. And we're thinking there around, as I say, £2,600, but then that would match what the teachers were asking for. So as a SACRE, you're supporting the development of RE in your schools, and we're making it very bespoke to your syllabus, because actually it's a syllabus that teachers are used to, they've engaged well. Julie and I have spoken a lot about the syllabus, and I've looked at the syllabus, and Julian knows well. And we've looked at actually the building on what's happened in the previous years. This will really move their thinking forward. And also the idea of oracy linked into the idea of vocab is really key. We hear it often talked about, about the 4th R now. And, we've got the report from Jeff Barton out there as well, and the use of language for children is really key. And if the teachers have got that confidence of it being planned into the curriculum, they can support pupils discussion, they can support the development of those key ideas there. So we're thinking that the documents that were spoken about by the teachers in Ealing 1 and 3 will be the basis to move that one forward. Okay, Julia.
Thank you so much, Ian. So they would be the documents that we would suggest we started with. But of course, teachers did ask for some other documents as well. So once we have made a start on the first two or finished that work, there would be opportunities to work on some of the other possible documents and tasks as well. Obviously, like with the first two, we would need to look at exactly what you wanted from each of those documents and tasks, have a really good idea before we costed anything out, and have a really good idea of budget as well. But we certainly can think about working on them. Now, one example that might be possible is Commission Task 5. I'll let you have a quick read of what teachers would like for Commission Task 5. Now, actually, by this, teachers mean PowerPoint slides, or slides that they can show on their interactive whiteboards in class. And actually, RE Today have many slides that schools might like to use. And that is because NATRE, the National Association of Teachers of RE, and RE Today have their primary school curriculum. And that is fully adaptable for schools. And the curriculum comes with plenty of resources, including learning pathways for each unit, because it has a unit every half term from early years all the way through to the end of year 6. And a learning pathway is basically 6 mini lesson plans and a vocabulary list. They have knowledge organisers for each of the units, but also each of the lessons comes with a PowerPoint. So if our teachers would like PowerPoint slides, we actually do have quite a lot of PowerPoint slides. Now, they do not match exactly the units that Ealing has, because the units that Ealing has mainly come from RE Today's Syllabus A. And the primary RE curriculum is more based on RE Today's Syllabus B. However, lots of schools that use RE Today's Syllabus A do use the primary RE curriculum and its slides as a good proportion of their school's RE curriculum. So your teachers might like to use some of these as samples or more of the units of these, and we could discuss that at some point in the future. And there's certainly a mapping document to show which units from Model Syllabus A map over exactly to these slides and which map over very well, etc. And I know that document exists because I know that Ian wrote it. Now, we're purposely not talking about our syllabuses A and B tonight, as we are quite certain that you would prefer to retain your own. If you do want any further information on those, then please do get in touch or ask at the end. But for now, we would rather talk about what we think you want, which is resources to support your own syllabus. So back to the slides that accompany the primary RE curriculum. Now, one of the reasons why the primary RE curriculum has gone down so well with schools is because it is completely adaptable. So the learning pathways, the slides, etc., they can all be completely adapted, and NATRE and RE Today encourage schools to adapt them to make them their own. So at the moment, they do not contain the 6 areas of inquiry, but actually they can be adapted quite easily to do so through training or other ways. But I'm going to pass over to Ian to talk about adaptations and what you might like.
Yeah, so as Julia says, we don't, as part of our primary RE curriculum, we don't have things that are not adaptable. One of the key elements, and I work with a MAT in the north of the country who've used this, and they have adapted it to their own setting. So they've actually taken the slides, they've taken the knowledge organisers and the learning pathways and made it relevant to their own pupil population. And what they've done is then said, well, actually, it's an area of high inner city deprivation, 72% of pupils are pupil premium, 60% of them are EAL learners, so they've had to adapt it to their own setting, and we encourage that one. And one of the things that we are proposing is that we could either look at working with teachers and actually adapting maybe 3 or 4 of these units that do match exactly to the RE Today units, that then would go alongside the matching document that Julia spoke about to begin with tonight, and we could talk teachers in the local authority through how they can adapt it themselves. And in that sense, what we could look at is, for example, we see there we have the key vocabulary sheet here for this unit, which is unit 10, but then teachers could then adapt it using the vocabulary from the previous document I spoke about. So actually pupils are continually having that learning reinforced, and they are revisiting those core concepts over time. And those words are then added to the knowledge organisers. And the knowledge organisers we provide as either a PDF or a Word document as part of this. And actually there is an overview of what the unit is about with background information for teachers. There are the key vocab which can be changed, but there's also an infographic. And what we're finding is schools are giving the information to the teachers, the infographic to the children, and the keywords are being displayed around the classrooms. So it's a really interactive way of learning. But one of the things we're saying is, rather than, you know, there's the whole package, and there is a match between syllabus A, which are the RE Today units that were provided previously to these, or one way that we was talking about, Julie and I were talking about, is actually we would then model how that teachers could adapt it themselves to their own setting. So maybe work through 2 or 3 and then undertake training with teachers where they can work together on their own or work in their school settings to actually develop these units to match their own syllabus, because we know then they can include the areas of inquiry from document 3, they can include the vocab from document 1. And a key element that we see now, and I rarely want to use the O word, but when we look at Ofsted's new 10 areas, the curriculum design one is really, really important, as is learning development. And this is really saying, actually, we're helping the teachers using the degree syllabus you've got, adapt these materials. That's their curriculum design. So when they come to talk through the curriculum, they talk through the journey through the curriculum. It is their curriculum and they have that comment about it. And it was really interesting that in the latest NATRE primary survey, 40% of RE coordinators now have been doing the job for 5 years, which is really unusual, because actually there is that passion to improve RE in schools. And this is really enabling the teachers to become that model of change and of that theory of change within their own setting, to develop those. So we have the idea that we can link training with the slides, and then the teachers can develop them. And we could do this in a number of ways, virtually, face to face. And a discussion we had was we would do this in small groups where the teachers then work together, sort of a family of schools around the idea of where the schools are supporting each other. So it's not done by one coordinator in isolation, but brought together. And that way we were bringing, you know, together what we think are the key elements of the vocab and the mapping document, and then moving the teachers a step forward in their own professional development and their own professional learning. And one of the things we've been looking at is then linking these to saying, well, working with teachers around, you know, if they're looking at the National Professional Qualification in Leading Teaching, you know, one of the standards in there is curriculum design. They could use this for that element. And we do know that a lot of schools are using their apprenticeship money now for MPQs. So we know we can really fit into that national model of developing the professionals within the local authority to really bring their learning together. So the possibility is then to use the sample slides we've already got, but this will be discussion between ourselves and yourselves to say, how far would you want to go down this line? And we would do that, or have that discussion, when we'd put the mapping documents together, because we'd want to speak to the teachers and say, right, what do you need now? Because what we realise is this is about them taking ownership of the materials and making sure that the materials and the vocab and the areas of inquiry are really linked to the children who are in front of them. And one area about this is about ongoing professional development for the teachers, that if they're involved with us, then they're able then to pass on the information to other people in their schools and really become true leaders of RE. Thanks, Julia.
And just to add that one other discussion Ian and myself had was that actually, if we were given the opportunity to help teachers develop in that way, and we were to run training, that actually we of course would want to do it in collaboration with Jan and SACRE, because actually it is a whole Ealing endeavour. It is not RE Today coming in and leaving people out. It is everyone working on the project as a team. So oh, Ian, did you want to go with this slide?
Yeah, okay. So as I say, we've talked about then the first stage for us is around the idea of the vocab and the mapping document, and then once we have that in place, having that discussion with, Ealing SACRE with Jan to say, right, what is next, to look at then budgeting and costing accordingly once that's in place, because we'd also want to evaluate what the teachers thought about tasks 1 and 3 and how they were using them, because we may find that actually what they want to move on may change. And because they're leading in their own school, we would then be led by Jan, by the SACRE, and by what the schools want in developing the next stage. And at that point, we can discuss again or in other areas. But we think it's a really good idea then to see that what will this look like for Ealing schools. It's all about your schools in your area. I mean, Julia knows well, but I was chair of my own SACRE for 13 years, and I was very passionate about, you know, the schools in Trafford. And you know, we had an agreed syllabus across 5 authorities, but I was passionate about Trafford, which is where I was their SACRE chair for. It just seemed a long time for that, but it really is about us doing that one. And the idea is, you know, we'd want you to be involved. You know, as we say, it's not us coming to do everything. We want to do it with you, not it's probably not the best phrase, but we want to be there alongside you every step of the way with your schools, supporting them in delivering that high quality RE, because one thing we feel, and Julie and I discussed this will really deepen RE and deepen what children get from RE. And by focusing on the 2 areas of inquiry, focusing on 5 sticky ideas, is not giving a panoply of things for children to learn about, but taking a few and really drilling down into what religion is all about as a lived experience in Britain today. Thanks, Julia.
Thank you so much, both of you. And I think you summed up very well there for Ealing SACRE, the fact that it actually, these ideas are the teachers' ideas. So what you're actually presenting on are the 5 areas that the teachers discussed and then put down as the 5 areas that they wanted to be focusing on. So it really will be a very collaborative and iterative approach, actually, because the teachers are working on this already. And I think the 2 things that you've picked out are very much key to, I think, the main faults that the teachers identified from the previous work that was done alongside RE Today. So I'm really pleased to see that, and thank you very much for really for whittling it down to those 2 initially, because I think if we don't get those right, it's going to be very, very hard to move forward with those other things. And I think the teachers, they would like all 5, of course they would, with bells on. But the reality is that we do have to begin somewhere, and I think that you have focused on the 2 most important ones. We do not have really a map that goes across from Ealing through to RE Today, and I think that was missed out from the last piece of work. And so if we can get that right now, that means that we can actually mend some of the things that were probably previously not quite fixed. So that would be a very good thing. I think that in terms of progression, the idea of focusing on language, and I love the addition, Ian, of the oracy. I think those 2 together fit really well and will help the teachers to see that sequential learning and the progression that can run all the way through those 6 areas of inquiry, as like the golden threads, which will run all the way through the curriculum. So I think that will be really quite important. Now, we've got quite a lot of questions in the chat bar. So if Councillor Deer is happy, I'll take us through those questions and you can then, both of you, respond if you wouldn't mind. So the first question is around the grid. So how will this overview grid document specifically enhance RE curriculum planning for schools? Is the first question. I don't know if anyone would like to respond to that.
I'm so sorry, Jan, I can't see that question.
Ah, right.
No, I've got it.
Have you found it?
Thank you.
I don't know if I can show it to you.
Right, so actually, when we are teaching RE, there might be certain things that we focus on. And the 6 areas of inquiry themselves each have slightly different focuses. So there might be one that is focusing a little bit more on texts and religious texts, religious artifacts. There might be one that's focusing a little bit more on practices, actually what people do, how people live, etc. And each one focuses on something different. Now, actually, our syllabus in Ealing asks teachers to help pupils develop in their understanding of all 6. That is absolutely fine to do over a whole curriculum. It is really hard to do in one unit. So what we will do is we can look at the units and say, actually, this one matches up with area A, because area A is all about texts, for example. So teachers, make sure you are hitting area A for this unit, and maybe area D matches really, really well as well. So we'll say A and D for this unit. Do not be so worried about the other 4 areas. This is your focus. So it gives teachers an understanding of where they are focusing, and it gives the pupils an understanding of what they are learning and where they are focusing as well. So it just means that everything can be a little bit more streamlined and teachers really know where they're going with the learning in RE, and it doesn't become too wishy-washy.
Yeah. And just to add to that one, it's also then about ensuring that if there's only 2 through the mapping document, that teachers aren't trying to use more breadth when we're really looking for depth in learning in RE. So if they're trying to encompass all 6 across maybe a 6-week element, that's too many for the children to really understand and to get to grips with what the areas of inquiry are. But where teachers then have got the confidence, and often with an RE curriculum, they want the confidence, oh yes, I can just focus in on one. And in that way, you know, they're going to use it practically and say, well, actually, I mean, I'm mapping out over the whole curriculum. I can see progression of ABC, I can see progression of DEF in different areas, rather than having to worry, I must get all 6 in this bit, all 6 in here and all 6 in there. It's giving the teachers then the confidence and empowering them, and that's a really key thing. Upskilling them is probably a better way. I would probably say we're giving them the skill to determine for themselves what's best for their curriculum, for their children. So that's how it would be practically used, that they would see that actually, yes, these fit really well, and I don't have to worry about, I've got A here and I'm using textual analysis and I'm looking at what we'd call in terms of the research review and their theological ways of knowing. I'm focusing here on that one. I'm not so bothered about B and C because I know that'll be in the next unit or the unit after that or the unit after that. So it's really ensuring teachers can do that, and therefore once they've got that skill to do that one, they are then able to say confidently, this is my curriculum, this is what we've decided, and I know the children are going to, over time and over the time of my curriculum plan, they're going to be able to encounter all those areas.
Yes, and also, as well as encountering all, it's where do teachers go with this? Because actually in some local authorities, teachers have really embraced this, and actually they take it a bit further. So they might go to the idea of assessment, and actually when they're assessing, be saying, okay, I'm assessing this unit and I'm assessing how well my children are doing in terms of area B and E, because they are my areas for this unit. And over a little time, you can start to see which children are doing very well in certain areas. Is it a case that actually, oh, in this year group, we're doing brilliantly in A, B and C, but D, E and F aren't so fantastic, so maybe we need to put a little bit more work in here, etc. And it really helps teachers to see exactly where to focus the teaching as well by assessing in that way. We don't know if Ealing teachers will go that far, but if we give them the tools at the start, we might get something like that.
Yeah, actually, Julia, I think they're already there. They already want that. They're already working to that. So when they're talking about a mapping grid, what they will want is the intention and the objectives actually on that grid, otherwise it won't work for them. And that is how they work already. So I think what they just need is really sort of like an overview document, but perhaps more than that, so that they can see the progression in one fell swoop, but maybe they can also see the progression of A, B, C, D and E within their each key stage as well. So when the mapping grid, I would hope would be more than just an overview. It would need to be fairly detailed, but you would have to explain to me, you know, how, and to SACRE, how that, what you were expecting to develop for the money. You know, if it is just a simple, you know, 1 A4 piece of paper with an overview, that's not going to cut the mustard. We're going to need more than that. The teachers need more depth than that. So I think the progression is going to need to be built in into that grid. You can put the vocab, you can put the oracy, you can put the objectives. If it can all be into that overview grid, then I think they can work out their intent from that themselves for assessment.
Would the objectives come from the syllabus, Jan?
Yes, I would say that you would need to tie the two together, because that's what's missing at the moment. So, you know, the two are going to have to be tied together. Otherwise, the grid wouldn't work. I think we can't. I don't think we can expect the teachers to use the documents separately from one another. I think this is about joining them together, and that's what we didn't have before. And you have what the teacher said, you know, and that's what's missing, I think. There were some other questions that came out as well. I don't know whether we've answered them now, but we've got a question here about vocabulary. So I'm really interesting, actually. And a second one talking about, I did see another one around pronunciation, which is really interesting from Lux. I didn't know if anyone wanted to speak to their own questions rather than me just reading them out. Would anyone like to speak to their questions so you can explain exactly what you were thinking at the time? I think, Lux, your point about pronunciation is really interesting. Thank you, Lux.
Oh, yeah, hi.
Yeah,
I was just thinking that I can understand how some of these words from far-off cultures for a teacher of not that culture can be quite daunting. Try and give over to their pupils. They probably try their best, knowing that they're not pronouncing things right. So perhaps a tool where you have these words where they can press on a link, and that gives an audio of how that word could be pronounced. There's a little bit of nuance to this because some countries might pronounce it in different ways to other countries, but we can try our best to try and give that, perhaps even with a little description, a little dialogue of what that word means. And some tool like that could be even offered to the kids that they could use to revise with, for example.
Ian, did you want to take it?
Yeah, I mean, as I say, that's one thing that we can look at, because embedding sound snippets into a document now is very, very easy. So we could actually use people from the SACRE who could help us with those ones as well. That'd be a really good way of involving the SACRE. And one of the things, and it goes with one of the other questions we have there, is asking about definitions and context. And one of the key things that is one of my joys of RE is actually getting to the root of where words come from, and actually sharing that with the teachers, so that then the teachers have a better understanding of where the word comes from and the application of it within the faith community, and using not using but help it, or having members of the SACRE help with those from their own faith perspectives to help us understand how they are said. And you know, for example, I'll give you a clear example. One of my areas is around the use of how many languages don't have vowels in them, and that influences their development and also their true meaning. So the idea is actually sharing that with teachers through a guidance document. So if we're, for example, if we're looking at something, for example, in Islam, we're looking at the concept of shahada, that shahada is also ashadu. So it's a declaration, it's I declare. So actually, by teachers having that knowledge around the words, they've got a clear understanding of it. And when we come across words that sometimes can feel contentious for teachers to use, and in my own, in teaching, for example, I'll use another Islamic example around jihad. Actually understand that jihad is about struggle, and it can be the struggle of everyday life. So enabling teachers to have that knowledge through the vocab is really, really clear, and actually what they mean. And I say, it is that idea of the definition and the context You know, one of my big things has always been around the idea of sits in Laban, the place in history of language and where language is developed and how it's come into our own understanding. And I had a very interesting discussion yesterday with somebody around the difference between the Holy Ghost and the Holy Spirit. You know, and I was brought up using the Holy Ghost in an Anglican primary school in the 70s, and now people use more of the Holy Spirit, and actually making sure the language there is what is being used by the communities today. And that's why involving the SACRE in this one, and also then saying to teachers, well, actually your children may use a slightly different word, and giving them the confidence to know that that their children may use things differently, but actually if they've got that core context, that core definition and guidance with the pronunciation, which I think is a really good idea, really will enable the teachers then to have the confidence themselves to use words and to explain what they mean and to use them in the context that the religion uses them. And I think that's the key part of why the vocab is there as well.
Yes, and just to add on to the pronunciation there, where SACREs have worked on these sorts of documents and have recorded the pronunciation, sometimes teachers who are less confident actually use that in class, so that the teachers can so that the pupils rather can really hear from an authentic voice of religion and belief, rather than from a teacher who might get it a little bit wrong. And then over time, as they get their confidence up, of course, they start to pronounce it themselves as well. But I think teachers would use that well.
Thank you very much, guys. I think, Jan, we got only 5 minutes left. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I just wanted to say that I suppose the key thing that we've got to think about before we go today is about where we as a SACRE want to go next, and to make some decisions over some of the documents that the teachers have requested. So they requested 5 possible commission documents, but of course the reality is we'll probably have to decide on where we start. And just as Julia and Ian have quite rightly stated, there are 2 documents that I think probably were missing from the first stage of the development 5 years ago, and we really need to fix that quite urgently. If we can fix that first, there are some of these other things that we could actually continue with the network meetings, and members from SACRE can come along to those network meetings, and we can do some of those tasks around etymology, hermeneutics, language, text, oracy, anything to do with the VAT and RE that we're already doing around vocabulary. So those things are already ongoing, but I do think we want to make a decision or some conversations or final questions, if you want to ask them really, before we leave today.
Could I ask you one question, Jan? The invoice you have attached in this, I think we also agreed, as stated in the minutes of our last meeting. Is it an addition? It would be an additional cost? No.
No. So the idea is that there, within the budget, we have got some money which can be commissioned. That money can be used to commission some tasks, and some of the tasks can be commissioned in-house, and some of the tasks can be commissioned outside of Ealing. And so this is why after the teachers spoke to Julia and also to Jigsaw, they decided that they wanted to invite Julia back and RE Today back, and that they wanted SACRE to then ask questions and have a think about whether or not some of those documents, those commission documents, would go to RE Today. So that question is open. And that's something where we might say, you might want to say, ask more questions to Julia and Ian before they go, or you might wish now to close and to then talk amongst yourselves. It's up to you how you do it.
Can I just clarify? Are you seeking, I don't know where the budget sits, but you're seeking some kind of authority to spend the amounts that were mentioned in the presentation?
I think that's what I was going to ask Sinead about it, if she was aware of this.
Chair, I need to ask the question as well.
Yeah, personally, I think that's a discussion probably outside of where Julia and Ian now sit. So what I would suggest is, you know, we as a SACRE now need to talk about it. and we need to then we would then need to send a message to Julia and Ian and to explain where we have got to with our decision making. Obviously, even to get this far, we've made some decisions, haven't we? You know, otherwise Julia and Ian wouldn't have been invited this evening. So it's now deciding about the price. What are we actually getting for the price? We might then want to then go back to Julia and Ian to discuss the actual detail. You know, what is going to be produced for that finance. So we've got a few steps to go.
It will be great, Jan. That's what I was thinking. Also, if Julia and Ian can send their slides to Sinead, they can look through, they can look into it. Sorry about that.
I'll do that in a minute.
Is it okay, Sinead?
Yeah, as well, I was just going to say, I was at the network and saw the presentation, the initial presentation, both from Julia and from Jigsaw, and I just think it's a case of kind of, we've obviously got our budget and we've got a very strict sort of financial timeline, if you like, and we can put together the comments and questions from this committee, but also what the teachers want, and kind of try and come to a compromise, because we're not going to be able to get everything that you know, that in an ideal world, and if we had endless pots of money, if that makes sense. So I think by putting together all of those questions and setting it out and looking to see if there are gaps and where importantly I think that the group that is going to be put together, consisting of the teachers and really scrutinising that curriculum review, is going to be key.
Yeah, thank you very much. Otherwise, you know Jan very well. It's not possible for us to make a decision about the funding. Yeah. Could I ask Tariq Mahmood? Yes, Tariq.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to give a quick feedback. I know we are running out of time, so the two things, clarification on one question. So I don't need answer on that in that meeting. You can come back to me next time. But what the one thing is, as you all know, that there's a very good strategy to cover the 6 area. Just wanted to know, Ian and Julia will be with us through all that journey with the coordination of Jan. I'm just clarifying my concept in terms of to deliver agreed syllabus. Is that right?
If I can answer that, it very much depends on what we decide as a SACRE. So it's our decision. So I think at this stage, we're gathering information in, and we're trying to then decide on the best way forward. And I think Ian and Julia have done a very good job this evening of pitching what RE Today can offer as a commercial enterprise. And our decision now is to decide if that's how we want to go forward. And so I think really, I suppose at this stage, Councillor Dear, we might like to just say thank you very much to Julia and to Ian.
Yes, exactly.
Definitely, yeah. Well, the second clarification, Chair, I just wanted to make sure whatever we agreed, we have got 5 groups working in that SACRE committee. One is faith group, non-faith group, teachers group, and councillors group. So everyone has got a fair chance to contribute their views. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think presentations were great. We enjoyed, we learned quite a lot. I think needs a lot of information provided. I think teachers needs upskilling. So I think we will make decisions. Jan will be in touch with you, Julia and Ian. Thank you very much for attending this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having us. Have a lovely end to your evening and your meeting.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thanks for attending.
Good night.
So time is exact 2 minutes past 9. Meeting is closed.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Night.